Hello, I'm Sonali Rathore. I would like to speak a little about my experience with Kailash Hospital. I come from a defense background, and we have, we generally, when we have to go to hospitals, we have our ECHS impaneled. So I realized Kailash is one of the ECHS impaneled hospitals. And I have a mother-in-law who's ailing. She's more than 80 years old, and she's in the last stage of cancer. So just about 3 weeks back, she landed up, the cancer has spread all over her body. And about 3 weeks ago, she landed up with a very bad viral where she had a lot of congestion in her lungs. So I didn't know where to take her, but then I realized a lot of people had told me about Kailash. So I immediately brought her to the Kailash emergency. And I was so happy to see, despite it being full to capacity, there were so many patients out here. There was immediately a doctor who attended to her, more so because she was very aged, and there were a couple of nurses and attendants also around. Of course, we were very fortunate to find Dr. Narendra Gupta here. He started taking a few notes down, and I told him, I said, doctor, please listen to her chest, because मुझे लग रहा है कि वहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा उनका chest congested है. So he just said, अच्छा मैम थोड़ा खांसो. So my mother-in-law coughed, and he says, okay, she is admitted. He didn't even waste a second, because he realized how critical it was, that she needed to immediately be put onto drips, a nebulization to be given, and all the scans and tests to be done. He says, ma'am, she has to be there. We have to monitor for a day because the situation is a little critical. And I showed him the X-ray which we had taken, and the cancer had spread in both the lungs. So obviously he was, making sure that he admitted her so that he could monitor her condition. I was very good with it. I told my mother-in-law saying that, Mama, आज तो आपको hospital में रहना ही पड़ेगा. Of course, she was very upset कि oh my God, मैं तो कपड़े भी नहीं लेके आई, all that. So in the meanwhile, the staff at the emergency told me that, at the reception told me that I had to go at the entrance to get all the admission formalities done. So I just have to mention, it took me exactly 1 minute to get her admitted into the hospital. It was so super efficient. They just needed a card, and I think exactly 30 seconds later he handed the papers to me, and he said, ma'am, you can just take these papers, the patient is admitted. A beautiful room was given to us. So I said, ye ho bhi gaya? I mean, I don't have to wait for hours or things. So it was very efficient, beautifully handled. I'm so impressed with the people at the reception. I didn't have to go through any problem whatsoever. Then of course she was wheeled immediately on a wheelchair to the ward where she had to spend the night. I just have to mention that the room, we were given a private room in absolutely pristine condition, excellent. The bathroom was very well maintained. The beds were very well done up. There was a bed for the ward, for the caregiver as well. And the first night I spent in the hospital with my mother-in-law just to see what is happening. I just have to say, that we were on the 4th floor. I do need to mention all the nursing staff, the attendants, and the ward boys who were so good. The first night I, of course, knew, the nurses coming in every 1 hour to check up on how she's doing. People coming in to clean repeatedly, and the ward boys making sure everything is done. So it was a wonderful experience in terms of giving her care and the cleanliness. Of course, my mother-in-law stayed for 15 days in the hospital. Dr. Narendra Gupta did not let her go till he was mentally satisfied she was fine. Every moment and every day there was a new development. Her hemoglobin was very low, so she needed blood transfusion. What a wonderful experience I had with the blood bank. They said, you don't have to worry, just go down and there's a requisition slip I had to sign. Within 1 hour the blood would be available, So I just have to say, at least I didn't have to run around. There were 4 pints of blood ultimately that went into her because she was severely anemic. But never a problem even with the blood bank. The doctors, the other doctors that came in, all her tests and scans that were done without any problem. Dr. Narendra Gupta came in so many times a day just to make sure she's doing well. The nurses were excellent. I can't, say enough for them, because they went out of the way to make sure that she's looked after. I would love to mention a few names out here. There was Ronnie, and there was Paul, and I can't forget the name, Tinu, Danny, Mabel, the head nurse, and the attendants like Sheila Didi, Chanda Didi, who made sure I couldn't be there all the time with her. But whilst I was not there, they made sure that they really looked after her. They were with her, because she's very old. They were there bathing her, making sure the room is clean, feeding her. And then I have to also speak about the food. The services were excellent. We were very happy to know the dietitian came in. Since my mother-in-law had ulcers around her tongue, she came in and gave, a soft diet for her. The food was absolutely super, wonderful. I wouldn't say even for a single day we had any complaints with that. With me being with her throughout the day, there were times I felt like having a cup of tea or something to munch. I was so pleasantly surprised to know that they have a fabulous cafe downstairs. And they were, you just had to ring up a number and they would bring up the tea, they would bring up the food or whatever, which was cooked beautifully. Then I also realized that there were lovely fruit juices available at the entrance at any time. Juices in the most prepared in the most hygienic fashion could be brought to the room itself, and everything was absolutely fantastic. I also have to mention when she was discharged, maybe if it took me 1 minute for admission, it took me half a minute for discharge procedures. So I said, it's already done. When I went to the people at the discharge, he says, yes ma'am. There was one fellow who came in, he says, acha, aapko kya karna hai? I said, this is what I need a discharge for. He said, I need a file or something, I said. They said, it's all done. Aap baith jaiye idhar. And within no time, and the card, ECHS card, was given back to me. And the best part is that everything was linked. I did not have to go to my parent polyclinic for a referral or any of that running around. Very efficiently, the hospital has linked up with the ECHS and made our lives easier. It is so beautiful, and the billing had been done, the medicines had been purchased, and everything was done. I just didn't have to do anything. So if it was 1 minute for admission, it was half a minute for discharge. And of course, then I went back to the ward, and we said our thank you to everybody. And I just need to thank the hospital for a wonderful experience that I've had. Both my mother-in-law, myself, my husband, and my son. We've all been involved with the hospital now. And if she was down, the hospital resurrected her and sent her back home. She's doing very well, although her lungs are on the final stage. They're almost about to collapse. But when I'm looking at her in the last 2 days, I just cannot believe that she's feeling so fit and so fine. So I just have to thank Dr. Narendra Gupta from my heart. He's been such a wonderful doctor, very intelligent, very smart, very perceptive, very caring the way he looked after my mother-in-law. And I'd just like to congratulate Team Kailash for doing a fabulous job with everybody. God bless. I will make sure that whoever I meet, I'm going to talk about my experience with this hospital. It just couldn't be better. And I'm from the Air Force, so what we say, all the best, we say happy landings always. So, wishing Kailash Hospital all the very best, the team Kailash, and happy landings always. God bless.